Hi, I'm Meaghan.
And I'm Neil.
And we've packed up our home in Glasgow and moved into our cute retro camper van Harmony to travel all over Scotland, exploring the best places to stand up paddle along the way. So come join our adventure as we visit the Highlands, Islands and everywhere in between on our
SUP
Safari Scotland! Leaving Arran, we catch a small ferry back to the mainland, drive the short distance across the Kintyre Peninsula and then catch a larger ferry onto the Isle of Islay. Just found this awesome wee park for night near Port Ellen on Islay, and I think we may have struck gold. Look at this place, it's gorgeous. And if it's anything like this in the morning, maybe a bit warmer, might even go paddling. Nice.
Just on the way to the LiQWYD distillery on this very wet and windy day on Islay. As part of the LiQWYD Friends Club, because we bought a bottle, we have our own patch, 1 square foot patch of land that LiQWYD has given us, and as part of the rent from that is 1 dram per year to be claimed at the distillery, so fingers crossed that they are open.
So we're at LiQWYD distillery and we're off to find our plot that we have because we bought a bottle of whiskey a while back, and we've been told that it's pretty boggy, so it's probably we're probably not actually going to find it, but we're going to go and have a look at this can anyway and maybe drink our wee dram there. We never did find our land, but it's somewhere over there. With no sign of the weather letting up anytime soon, we figure what would the 3 distillery drive be without another visit to a distillery.
This is a special edition from the Jazz Festival. It's apparently 18 years old, but it's not stated on the bottle. So let's see how we go. It's not super peaty, which is good. The flavour develops as it sits in the mouth. It develops over about 10 seconds. That's really good.
We decide to take a driving tour of the island to explore places for a SUP session when the weather clears up. head northwest to explore more of the island. This is Loch Gorm, so there's a couple of wee islands out on Loch Gorm that appears to have the ruins of a castle, if the map is to be believed. It's a pretty cool sort of a place. Obviously, not the best conditions today, but on a nicer day, I reckon it'd be worth checking out. Loch Gruinart is a huge sea loch in the north of the island. You can drive along both the east and west sides, but the east appears to have better access to the water. Back on Loch Indaal again, we notice that the eastern shore around Bowmore appears more protected from the wind. Pretty windy, so we head off to explore Loch Finlaggan, ancient seat of the Lord of the Isles. We're here at Finlaggan, which is the ancient seat of the Lordship of the Isles. So the people who used to govern this area back in the day, 1300s, 1400s, were the ones who were descended from Summerland, who apparently freed this area of the tyranny of the Vikings. So a really important place of power in Scottish history. The large island was home to the MacDonalds, Lords of the Isles during the Middle Ages. Until the 14th century, access to the island was by a stone causeway. On Islay and Jura, the largest island, is dedicated to St Finlaggan, who the area is thought to have been named after. St Finlaggan was a contemporary of St Columba,
who came across from Ireland and famously associated with Iona. And Iona is where the Lords of the Isles, or the kings from here, were buried.
Great hall behind me here, which was used for feasts for the Lords of the Isles. It's hard to believe it today because it's such a tiny wee island, but apparently there were about 20 buildings on this island back in medieval days. It is thought that this building is the 16th century house of Donald McKillespie, built from the stone of an earlier medieval structure. This is the best preserved building on the island, so it was a house, a two-storey house, which is quite incredible really. Thought to have had a ladder to connect the bottom floor to the top floor, and had a thatched roof as well. The use of Finlaggan for council meetings and the ceremonies to proclaim new lords would make this a place of great importance in medieval times. Excavations have shown that there was a large settlement here, truly the centre of the Lordship of the Isles. So this is a council aisle which was reached by a stone causeway. There's still signs of that stone causeway under the water.
In 1494, John II, Lord of the Isles, was forfeited by King James IV. It appears that many of the buildings on the two islands were dismantled or destroyed about that time. This may have been on the orders of the King, determined to curb the power of the MacDonalds once and for all. The reign of the Lords of the Isles was finally over. While we're in the north, Neil decides it's time to visit another distillery while I enjoy the beach and breathtaking views to the Isle of Jura.
Remember that fantastic still evening when we arrived on Islay a couple of days ago? That was the last we saw of that. However, today looks like a really, really lovely day. Nice and sunny outside. It's still really windy though, so we're off to get a coffee and explore a bit more of the island and hopefully find somewhere sheltered to paddle. However, we might have to wait till tomorrow, which is not going to be quite so sunny, but I think it's going to be a bit more calm as far as the wind goes, so stay tuned.
So that's Loch Indaal again. Be honest, you thought I was nuts when I suggested supping there a couple of minutes ago, didn't you? But look at it now. Stunning. We get a hot tip from some windsurfers and head to the southeast coast for a protected place to paddle.
Found a really awesome little spot just on the southeast coast of Islay, so just up from Port Ellen, past the three distilleries, Bunnahaven, LiQWYD and LaFroig. So beautiful little beach here. It's still a bit windy, but it feels a little bit protected in this particular spot, so I'm just going to go out for a quick wee paddle, but have a look at this. Beautiful, hey? So a bit breezy, getting pushed down the beach a little bit, but that's better than being pushed away from the beach. This is Kildalton High Cross. There's lots of carvings depicting all sorts of biblical scenes on it, and it's quite a significant cross. There's a relationship between the design here and one on Iona. Apparently it's one of the best examples of early Christian crosses in Scotland. It's 1,300 years old, so unbelievably old.
Happens that we pass LiQWYD on the way back out.
We're back at the LiQWYD distillery. I think Neil's decided that he is going to go buy himself some whiskey. Ron Swanson!
We find our way back to our favourite beach as I'm determined to get out on the board the next morning before the wind picks up.
A bit of a greyer day today, but we're finally getting in the water at that awesome beach that we showed you just earlier. This is a really cool square lighthouse just over the other side of the bay from where we're staying at the moment. I don't think it's a Stevenson one. It doesn't look like their type of lighthouse. Sounds like I'm a lighthouse expert now, but I'm not. SUP bloke likes lighthouses, so we've seen a few since we've been here. But yeah, it's got this wee causeway that you can walk out to go and have a look at it. And over the other side of the bay here, we have the town of Port Ellen, which is where one of the ferries comes in, and also a distillery, one of I think 9 on Islay. For such a small island, there's a lot of whiskey here, which is awesome. Got an extra layer on today, got my little down jacket on, just for extra layer of warmth, but surprisingly, it doesn't actually feel cold, so I think that would change if it fell in. The silvery light on the water at the moment is really quite magical. So a lot of the time when I'm in a new place, I'm pretty conservative where I paddle. Don't tend to go out into the very deep areas. More of a chill seeker than a thrill seeker when it comes to stand-up paddleboarding, because I really like the serenity. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. If you don't know the water, you don't know the tides, don't know where the rips potentially can be, I think it's always good to be a bit more conservative about where you're going. Know your limits. You see SUP bloke down there playing with the drone. Just over behind him is where we've been camping. Really beautiful little spot. Nice little woodland behind. I think it might be time for a coffee.
We decide that the calm weather is a good opportunity to make the narrow and sometimes dodgy ferry crossing to neighbouring Jura.
We're off to Jura, so just watching all the wee cars that are getting on ahead of us. It looks like they have to reverse on, so that looks a bit tricky. No pressure.
No pressure.
Easy for an outback trucker. Cheers, bro. That's been close.
Immediately we notice Jura has a more rugged and natural landscape, with its smaller population of 196 compared to Isla's 3,200. We notice less agriculture and a higher population of deer.
So far, Jura doesn't look like it's anywhere near as windy as Isla, so who knows, maybe we'll get a chance to go in for another sup here as well. Fingers crossed.
And they only have one whisky distillery, but a pretty great up-and-coming gin distillery. Not being one to leave any road untravelled, we head as far north as the public road allows.
This is the end of the road in Jura. We've travelled as far north as you can on public roads, and beyond here there's Barnhill, which is the farm that George Orwell wrote his famous book 1984. Beyond that, the track goes up to the Craighouse, which is the third largest whirlpool in the world. So we're not actually going to do this trek because, one, I don't think the weather's very conducive to it. It's going to be about a 20-kilometre round walk, but also the tides aren't quite right to actually see the Craighouse at the moment. So we are going to do a turn around and head back down south.
Gin is only 6 years old but is already exporting to the world. Its special blend of hand-foraged, locally grown botanicals, which won me over with its fruity yet floral aroma before I'd even tasted it.
We're at the Bay of Small Islands on Jura, and it's still which is fantastic, still relatively early in the morning. So the wind here on Jura just doesn't seem to be quite as windy as what it has been on Isla. But yeah, it just seems a bit more protected here. We're on the east side, which is the side that the road runs up. West coast is a bit more inaccessible unless you want to walk through there. So this is a really lovely little bay though, nice and sandy. So yeah, gonna go out and check it out. Beautiful, peaceful day out on the water today. It's so calm. It actually even feels a bit warm because there's a bit of sun about. Again, the water's still pretty cold. Don't know exactly what the temperature is. The weather forecast is saying that there's maybe 10km/h winds at the moment. It's just so calm. If anything, there's an onshore breeze, which is always good, because you know that you're going to be pushed back inshore, if anything. But yeah, Bay of Small Islands on the Isle of Jura. one up the top. Oh look, there's a head popped up. How awesome is that? It's just checking us out. Getting closer.
The seal being very curious over there. Having a look, he doesn't know who to look at.
See Harmony way over the distance there.
And the weather just keeps getting better. Instead of being a good little YouTuber and editing our travels so far, we sat in the sun and drank gin. Why wouldn't you? Like all good things, our time in Jura came to an end, and we headed back to Islay to catch the ferry back to the mainland.
worried we might about getting back on because we scraped our bum.
And just like that, we're back on Islay again.
That's us for this week. We're still on Islay at the moment. We're meant to be leaving tonight on the ferry, but they've had a bit of problems with one of the ferries, so they've bumped us to tomorrow. So this is our little spot that we're just chilling out for the day, catching up on the videos. Not bad, eh? See you next time.